All right, there we go. Let's get our other Facebook groups in here. It's time to start the music.
It's
Time
time
to
to
start the
light the
show.
lights.
Nice. There we go, everybody. Welcome in. And it is, what is it? Gosh, Tuesday morning, the 12th of December already, 2023. And it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nik Kendell and joined by, as always, on these morning shows 3 days a week, Scott Kennedy. Well, Scott, for you and I, it's 6 times in the morning a week, but there's 6 shows in the mornings every week. But how are you doing? What's new?
Oh, what is new? What's new is I want to say hello to everybody that's starting the show for the first time. When you're on YouTube, I want to say hello. If you're watching this for the first time, because this show has really taken off in the last few weeks as far as the total number of viewers. It's practically doubled over the course of this season. And I want to say thank you to all of our new, our old heads, obviously, but all of our new viewers. That's what's new. We've got a lot of new viewers, and I want to say thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying the Broncos content we are providing for you in the AM. So appreciate you being here, and thank you for the support.
Yeah, and if you are joining, don't be afraid to join in the comment section as well. The only rule is be kind. Everybody has different opinions and walks in life, and that's fine. Back it up, but above everything else, just be kind. We start with the show with that. We typically end the show with that as well. So let's say hello to some people in the chat. Talk about being kind. We got Troy coming in here off the bat with a $9.99 super saying, "Hey guys, are we catching the Lions at exactly the right time or at the worst time coming off that loss? Have a great show." I think that overall you're catching the Lions at a middle of the road time because they are really struggling. I saw a stat today that, Scott, this blew my mind. The Lions this season have only beaten one team with an above 500 record, which is pretty darn wild. And their defense, while it was looking feisty the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, they've been one of the singular worst defenses in the NFL over the last 2 months. They've just been dreadful. So I think we are catching the Lions more at the right time. Maybe they're a little desperate, but the Packers losing, I mean, the NFC North is going to be easy for them to walk in at this point as well, with 4 games left and the Packers losing last night. So I'd say more right time than not.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is a better time than maybe week 4 or week 5 for the Lions. For you, that goes without saying. For the Denver Broncos, so the flip that question around, Troy. Who wants to play the Denver Broncos right now? I guarantee you the Detroit Lions don't. The Detroit Lions defense, I'm a big Lions fan this year. I'm a big Dan Campbell fan. I like what they're doing. They're an underdog franchise. I've been rooting for the Lions. They're struggling right now on defense in a big, big way. And this is a chance for really the Broncos. The Broncos just kind of stepped on the neck of the Chargers. I think they're going to give up some points. They'll give up more points than the 7 trash points they gave up against the Chargers. But again, a little bit like the road game against the Houston Texans, the offense is going to have to step up and make some plays in this game if they're going to win. You can't just rely on the defense and counterattack football, so to speak, where I get a stop, I get a turnover, and I go and, well, you didn't really score. But the offense is going to have to play at a higher level than it's typically played over the course of these 7 games since it's the season's turnaround. But I think that's a great question, Troy. I think the Lions are still going to be one of the tougher opponents on the schedule in Detroit, but they're vulnerable. They are vulnerable right now, but it's still going to be a tough game. The Lions are still favored for a reason, I believe.
Yeah, they've been pretty darn terrible on defense recently. Specifically, their cornerback, Jerry Jacobs, has just been awful. I feel bad for him almost, but I mean, his PFF grades over the last 5 games, 63, 52, 40, 54.7, 47. I mean,
They could probably use Jeffrey Okudah, huh?
Yeah, they probably could use Jeffrey Okudah. They've been really struggling on that cornerback end, and that's one reason I think it maybe is a game where you don't shy away from this question here from Monica. Says, should we gamble this week with Judy or stick to Sutton? Scott's point last week or yesterday was, of course, the on point. Like, he's your wide receiver too. Just through the natural ebbs and flows of progressions and the game, there's going to be points where you get to Judy as the first read or the secondary read because this is an NFL game. As much as we talk about the simplification of the progressions and the reads from Russell Wilson, there's still plenty of plays where, there's at least getting to the second read before getting to the check down. So I think this is a game maybe I'm feeling a little spicy or in a good mood, but even though Jerry Judy, you could say for every reason he's lost trust and you shouldn't go to him, I feel like he's probably at his lowest in his self-belief after those 2 opportunities of the entire season. maybe looking inward rather than, the situation and the quarterback play. And I think this is a game where if you get it right with Judy and you get him hot and feeling himself, the benefits and the ramifications of that, not brought to by Manscaped, could be massive down the season. So I honestly am looking to get Judy involved early, get his confidence up, give him something that's easy where he can do something. So it's high probability of success, not the down the field or corner of the end zone stuff, and get it rolling. So I'm honestly featuring Judy early on in this one, just trying to get the confidence going.
Get your shooter an open shot. That's, see if I can get him to the free throw line, see if I can get him going. And I understand that. And I still think that is part of your normal game planning anyway. I really do. So my point on this yesterday, and Monica helps kind of highlight this point for me. Should we gamble this game with Judy or stick with Sutton? My point was I wouldn't necessarily change the game plan at all. It's been working. You're going to develop plays for your wide receiver too. That's part of a normal game plan week to week. There will be times where a busted play comes open and you throw it to your wide receiver too. Jerry Judy had the most targets last game. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily need to change as part of the game flow, as part of, being a wide receiver too on a team. You're going to be targeted. I don't change my game plan other than maybe, like you said, I want to try and get Jerry Judy the ball over the course of the game anyway. That's just week to week to week to week. Maybe in the script, my 15 scripted plays to start, I throw in a wide receiver screen. I accelerate the process a little bit, but I'm not varying what I've been doing other than trying in the normal course of a game plan is like, hey, maybe we can add a little more this week because, Russell Wilson's picking up the game. Everybody's a little bit more confident with the offense. I don't acquiesce to Jerry Judy in any type of special way because over the course of the game, he will get his chances. That's my overall overriding thought with him. I'm not icing him out.
No.
But I'm not going out of my way to placate him either.
Yeah.
He will get his chances over the course of a 60-minute game.
I think would be very beneficial for the Broncos if he can get his confidence up and get as an option. And a big reason is it's not just this Lions game or the big picture, but the game coming up next after this Lions one. And you never want to look ahead, but what do we know about the Patriots, who the Broncos play Christmas Eve? I know their offense is dreadful, but that defense is still probably a top 5 in the NFL, top 7. They are one of the top 5 for sure run defenses in the NFL this season. So that's rough. What do they do in the pass game? They bracket your number 1. So they're going to systematically take away the run and take away Cortland Sutton. Somebody has to step up. And I think this Lions game is one where you can start to at least really, I really do think Judy's going to have to be stepping up in that Patriots game unless your defense just smothers the Patriots, which is possible. But for your offense to function, it's probably going to have to be Judy, honestly. So I think this is a week where you probably, work in some points of emphasis where we have a layup here for you, Judy, early. Let's see if we can get you feeling yourself and get it rolling.
It's the same thing we ask every week about Marvin Mims. How can we get Marvin Mims more involved? That question's been asked 100 times. Judy, I think, has better upside at his height. He's just a more experienced receiver at this point. So I would like Judy to be a bigger factor in the offense that he's been. But again, I'm not going out of my way to change what I've been doing to acquiesce to his demands or whatnot. I'm not. And
I don't view it as
his chances over the course of a game.
Yeah, for sure. Logan coming in says first time joining live. Well, thank you so much, Logan. Thanks for leaving a comment as well. Hope you have a great Tuesday. Nice picture there of you and your maybe wife wedding there. So hope you're doing well and welcome in. And let's say hello to some more folks in the chat. We got David Youngkin in the house. Morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. 6 out of 7 games. Any team would love to say that. What's going on with Dulcich? Is he coming back? I think Dulcich should be in the cards here coming up. Maybe he's somebody who could be part of the equation. I mean, we saw this last game against the Chargers. The Broncos did seem to have a point of emphasis with getting the tight ends involved. You had that awesome play to Lucas Kroll down the right sideline. You had the great play design to Adam Troutman. They've been really missing a receiving threat out of that tight end position. This might have been Troutman's best game, honestly. He also made a guy miss in maybe it was even Derwin James, made a miss and picked up a first down. But yeah, Dulcich, I think will be back soon. You never know with those hamstrings. They're really odd, and he has a history of them as well. So I'm not depending on him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's back here soon as well.
Yeah, the problem is his practice window hasn't even been opened, has it? I mean, unless I missed it, he's still on injured reserve, and he's not even practicing with the team yet. He's a ways off.
Yeah.
So, normally you say we open up the practice window on him. Of course, they could wait until he's eligible and open up the practice window and get him started right away, but he hasn't even started practicing. We're talking about practice, dog. He hadn't even started practicing yet. So I'm not thinking about Greg Dulcich at all until I at least hear we have opened up the 21-day practice window on Greg Dulcich. The 21-day practice window means he's allowed to join the team without coming off injured reserve and counting on the 53. After that 21-day window, or unless you've made a decision before then, you have to either IR him for the rest of the season or put him on the 53, which means you have to cut somebody else. We're not there yet. We haven't even said the 21-day practice window has been open for Greg Dulcich. That hadn't happened yet. Until I hear that, I'm not counting on him for anything for this season. Nothing. Zero. You're going to have to work with what you got.
And it's really too bad. I mean, your top two draft picks in that 2022 class are right now not part of the equation. With Nik Bonitto, we'll see about him. We'll get into that in a second. But right now, let's say hello to Michael Ronquillo. Good morning, Nik and Scott on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Broncos. Good to see you, Michael. Hope you're doing well. Always appreciate you coming in, saying hello. We also got Richard coming in saying NFL Saturday with 6 teams in PO fight. Let's go. What is PO fight?
Playoff.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's a big game for sure on the Broncos this Saturday. So hoping for the best here.
Yeah, Saturdays, you got Vikings and Bengals. That's a big one for both teams. You got Steelers and Colts. That's a big one for both teams. And you got Broncos and Lions. That's a huge one for the Broncos. Lions still have a little bit of cushion, but it's still a big one for the Lions because, again, like I said, they haven't been playing all that well, and they've lost 2 out of their last 3 division games, including the Packers at home. And, they needed they had to play pretty well. They jumped up on the Saints and then held on late. That game was 21-0 in the first 6 minutes and then held on by the skin of their teeth. Like I said, y'all, this Lions team's vulnerable. They are.
Yeah, they are kind of the opposite of the Broncos where they started off pretty hot. I mean, they were like 6-1 or something to start. The defense was playing good football. We were really excited about Brian Branch. Lee McNeil was getting better and better, and they've kind of reverted. You see, like Ifanu's back at safety. Jacobs is back out there. They've lost to Lee McNeil now. And Hutchinson is honestly playing a little bit undisciplined football with some of his rushes right now, which is causing some issues in the run game. Justin Fields had a day against him. A lot of negative plays, but a lot of explosives, man. It was a fun game against the Lions for him. Troy coming back in says, how are we so much more effective against the run the last few weeks with the same personnel? I think that you've had better play over. I don't want to get too twisted on this one because I went back and watched the Chargers game, Scott, and I thought the run personnel was pretty poor in that one. So hopefully that's not an issue, and hopefully my internet is sticking.
I think it's
here.
me.
It's you. Okay.
Yeah, my StreamYard connection says it's pretty bunk right now. I still have my gigabit connection isn't fast enough right now for some reason.
Okay, well, this is a first. I'm going to take this for a moment to celebrate. No, if Scotty, if you have to drop out or anything, that's okay. I think that the overall level of the discipline and the run fits have been better from the defense. And also, I think the Broncos have kind of given up to a certain extent, stopping the run with limited personnel. And they've been sending much more blitzes on first and second down that can work as run blitzes at the same time as getting after the quarterback. It's really interesting data I found this week, just messing with the data. Now, this doesn't include the Chargers game in the sample size, which I think is important to note. But the Broncos this season, on first down, they have the 2nd highest blitz rate of the NFL. On second down, they have the 4th highest blitz rate in the NFL. On third down, they are dead last in blitz rate, which is shocking. I don't know if that'll hold once we get that Chargers game data as well. But they're sending blitzes on first and second down, and I think they're using those not only to get after the quarterback, but also to stop the run.
I'm hesitant to even talk right now because it says I've got a dot for connection. I'm not sure
You've sounded fine the whole time. It's just your video.
Okay, I'm not sure how well I'm coming through. If it stays a problem, I might restart the router. I've got 3 routers in my house, so I'll pick one of them. there's a scientific term, I need to look it up, when you start a question with a false statement. So Troy, on this one, for me, the personnel has not been the same. And that's one of the big differences in here. One of the big differences in the 6-game winning streak, or 6-game streak where we won 6 out of 7, is Baron Browning, is PJ Locke, is Jaquan McMillan, is Fabian Moreau. The big one in run defense for me is Baron Browning, because it has released Zach Allen to become a beast that he is, and has let you kind of move guys around to help cover for the other side of the line a little bit with Jonathan Harris over there. So for me, Troy, it's not the same personnel, and that's one of the bigger differences in the game. Obviously, there's familiarity with the schemes and all those kind of things, but the personnel change, we said last night, we don't believe in coincidences. The team is 3-4 with Kareem Jackson on the field. They're 4-1 with PJ Locke on the field. They were 1-5 with Randy Gregory on the field. 6-1 with Baron Browning on the field. For me, it's personnel as much as anything, Troy. Just a couple here or there, and that's where we start talking about a $6 million player versus a rookie minimum vet, or a rookie or a veteran min guy, and how much difference one or two guys here or there can really make over your defense. So it is personnel for me, Troy. Is the big reason.
Yeah, it is a big reason. And also, I don't want to be this guy, but watching this Chargers game against a really poor rushing offense, I mean, what did they have? Like almost 5 yards per carry in this one. I mean, the Broncos' run defense was still an issue, and that's with playing with the lead early on and the Chargers feeling like they had to be aggressive. So that is an issue as well.
And while he's ducking out, I'm going to hop out for just a moment. My connection doesn't seem to be getting any better. So I'm going to hop out for give my router a restart, and I'll be right back. I have a feeling it's probably my connection to StreamYard because my internet's just fine. But I'll give it a chance. I'll be back in just a moment.
All right. Well, let's say some more people in the chat while I'm running this. Says Kevin Gray, morning, Nik and Scott, big mile high salute, Broncos country. Hopefully injuries aren't too bad. Love the D number 1. Yeah, we'll get into the D a little bit here today. Monica, good to see you. We got Jeremy Sean saying, morning, boys. These last 4 games are shaping up to be against 4 pretty pocket-anchored quarterbacks, so our pass rush will be crucial. It will be crucial, and I think no more so than this next game against the Lions. The Lions have far and away the best offensive line that the Broncos are going to see down the stretch here. I mean, we saw the Chargers' offensive line. The Patriots has been pretty poor as well. Raiders is mediocre, and then you have the Lions, who probably top 5, top 8 offensive line. So this will be a big one. Goff has struggled against the blitz this season, according to PFF. He is the 3rd lowest graded quarterback against the blitz. I think it's sample out of 27, with quarterbacks having at least 100 dropbacks while blitzed. So Goff against the blitz is a concern. But the Broncos have been pretty poor at getting pressure with just 4 people this season. I think they are 31st in ESPN pass rush win rate, and I believe they are bottom 10 in pressure rate when only sending 4. So live by the sword and die by the sword. We'll see what happens with the blitz. I'm expecting a lot of crossing routes in this game coming up, quick crossers if possible with the slot against the Lions to get guys in space laterally against the Broncos linebackers in coverage. And that could cause some issues against the blitz. Now, coming back to the data I talked about earlier, the interesting tidbit about the Broncos being dead last in the NFL on 3rd down blitz rate. They're showing blitz on 3rd down. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Denver's top 10, top 12 over that sample size that since week 6 when the Broncos defense pulled their head out of their you-know-what, that the Broncos are probably one of the highest in simulated pressure rates on 3rd down, which is where you show 6 or 7 and you only rush 4 and drop the other 3 guys in the line of scrimmage. You've seen that a lot with the Broncos here over this winning stretch, where you've had both Singleton and Doul lined up in the A gaps as muggers, as we call them. That's the football term. Stand up on both shoulders of the center. Are they coming? Are they going? I don't know. 3rd down, they like to play a lot of games with that. But yeah, no, getting after the quarterback, especially as one pocket oriented, they can still blitz you with quick decisions and getting the ball out on time and finding their hots, but not as likely to beat you up with breaking the pocket, breaking contain, and then explosive run or broken play looking down the field because of the athleticism. So going against 4 pocket QBs in theory should be beneficial. This next one, though, the Lions, the way it sets up with Goff, who's struggled against the blitz, but still a cerebral quarterback, can be pretty good. A key aspect of stopping that Goff led team, though, is taking away that first read. So Vance Joseph, the cornerbacks, if you can blitz Goff while also making him have to get to his second read, can be good. You worry a little bit about Gibbs and Montgomery in the check down game because they're very good backs, maybe one of the best running back duos in football right now. But that is an aspect that we want to check out for in this Lions game. So a lot of Lions talk today. David says Goff has a bad habit of throwing interceptions and fumbling the ball. I'm not saying we will blow them out, but if our defense plays like they did this past week, we'll be fine. You got to feel good about almost every game the Broncos could be in going forward, as long as they keep protecting the football and not turning it over and taking it away. Gatorade Gaming comes in, and there's Scott again. Hopefully things are a little better there. Good to see a Gatorade Gaming. We got CPO coming in here saying good morning, victorious Broncos. Let's ride. And of course, Ethan coming in too, saying good morning, gents, and Broncos Country, and Gatorade Gaming coming in with a question saying, is Bonito playing Saturday? We have not heard, and this is a good transition here, Scott. Talked a little bit about the Lions there while you were gone, but we have not yet heard about Nik Bonitto. Sean Payton said he has good news about Quinn Meinerz. He's going to be joining the team facilities here. His heart came back. Everything turned out okay. So worth monitoring going forward for sure. You know, bigger things in life than football, especially with those offensive linemen and what their bodies are put through to get that mass and the caloric intake to stay that size. It's always wild to see the guys transition after the game.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully they transition nights to, a slimmer, healthier version of themselves.
Yeah, it's just not good for the joints and the heart and the musculoskeletal system to be that way that long. But is Bonito playing Saturday? I think the old saying is no news is good news, but I think we're in a case of no news is bad news in this one. We had a chance to hear from Sean Payton. I think he was directly asked about Nik Bonitto and what's his injury prognosis, and he circumvented that. And I don't think it was by accident. I don't think, he just forgot to talk about Bonito. So I'm guessing they're probably getting another opinion on it, maybe another MRI. But the fact that we didn't hear anything to this point, where it's Tuesday now and this happened Sunday, red flags all around for me, Scott. I'm not sure what's going on with Nik Bonitto.
Yeah, he's when asked yesterday about Quinn Meinerz and Nik Bonitto, he says Quinn Meinerz will be back with us today. That's really the only update we have. It's funny you said, and I think it's my I apologize, y'all. I think it's my StreamYard connection. StreamYard uses different servers to connect in different parts of the country, and right now, this one stinks in the Southeast because my internet is just fine. So I feel like if there had been a tear and an absolute, we would have heard about it yesterday. That usually comes pretty quick, a season-ending type of news with a surgery thing. But so my initial thought on the no news was that's actually, I think of that as good news. This is total speculation. And I always laugh at announcers that say, well, we don't want to speculate on the injury, but this is what we think is happening. It's like, okay, well, you're speculating, just own it. We're speculating. And my thought process is, if you haven't heard anything yet, I think that is good news because there's still a chance. If the chance was over, I think we would have heard by now.
Maybe. I think
maybe it's pure speculation.
Yeah, pure speculation. I like that. I'd prefer to that, obviously, because Bonito has been very good this season, especially with what the Broncos have been doing with their rush games. One thing that I liked about Bonito coming out of Oklahoma was, and I was trying to figure out his path to playing time. I'm like, well, maybe he's actually a stack linebacker on first and second down, so that way you don't have to worry about him setting the edge. And while we haven't seen that so much, his ability to drop into coverage and be a player like that has really been a great piece of where defenses have gone over the last, year and a half with the simulated pressures, because he is a hybrid player, but hybrid rushers are kind of the rage right now because you can play rush games against quarterbacks. Who's coming, who's going. I mean, it's kind of Dick LeBeau-esque, but a little bit more conservative coverage baked in the back end. It's like a merging of Dick LeBeau with Vic Fangio. And it's the two high safety shells, conservative coverage in the back end, but you're still doing blitz games while not blitzing up front. It's really, really a lot of fun. I've kind of thought that the Broncos since week 6, Vance Joseph and probably Sean Payton looked around the league like, what's working right now? Look at what the Ravens are doing with their front and Mike McDonald out there. Look at what the Vikings are doing with Brian Flores. Maybe we should do some of that too, because we can't get home with 4. And lo and behold, we're getting after it now.
What's the common denominator with those types of players?
They're versatile.
Speed.
Yeah.
Speed. Yeah. I mean, that's the, it always plays, big and fast always plays. And if you can have your druthers on it, you'd rather go with fast if you can only have one of the two. So speed is a big one. And why was Nik Bonitto drafted?
Speed. I mean, getting after the passer.
Yep. Speed. That was a big one. So,
and bend. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, finding different ways to use him. And the first time we saw that was when he was used as a spy. I'm like, that's Vance Joseph. Nice. That's not just your regular 4-3, 3-4. That's personnel and game planning. That was a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary Palmer coming in. Good morning, Nik and Scott. Hey, Broncos Country. Hey to you, Gary. Hope you're doing well. Always appreciate you. I'm not sure if I said hi to Ethan yet, but always love to say hi to Ethan. Good morning, Jensen, Broncos Country. Ethan, you've got to have been enjoying the emphasis and the fun play from the Broncos linebackers as of late. And also, I think we're going to get some Drew Sanders here going forward. That's my big takeaway with this, talking about the versatility, Scott, and the pass rush and getting after the blitz. I think maybe Drew Sanders is going to get edge work down the stretch here. I don't know. I hope it's not detrimental to his transition to the stack linebacker spot, but with how versatile you've been with your pass rush pieces, kind of the hybridization of your linebackers to edge rushers. I mean, you're even moving those edge guys around and playing a lot of mug linebacker on those third downs too. Drew Sanders' ability to be a versatile lineup piece when rushing the passer or dropping into a simple hook zone, something I expect the Broncos to do if Bonito's out for a chunk of games.
Singleton sack. Did anything strike you did anything come away from that? Did you have a thought about that play at all?
I loved that he was also getting on in the action, and 6 Broncos with 6 sacks in this game, I think.
I thought he was a little lucky to not get a taunting call.
Oh, yeah? Well.
Yeah, when you stand over a quarterback and flex, you're a little lucky not to then end up with back-to-back personal fouls for unsportsmanlike. When he did that with Justin Herbert, I thought he was a little fortunate. I mean, it's a little ticky-tack, I know, but we're talking about the NFL and quarterbacks these days.
Yeah.
And oh man, if they had thrown that flag, we'd have a different narrative going into right now about Alex Singleton.
Yeah.
He's got a. And then the other one I saw when Josie Jewell got his, and he did you notice when he bumped into his set? And then Zach Allen grabs his hands when he goes into his shooter's celebration. And then my God, Jewell hit him with a head slap straight out of the 70s on that play. Right after that, I'm like, God, boys are getting after it. I like it. I mean, that's what you want out of your defense. But walk the edge. Don't cross it. Be careful.
Well, I worry that both of them are going to get fined because after the strip fumble recovery with Josie Jewell, where he got tackled running super slow on that one, he was gassed. He said here after the game, but he and I think Allen both were in the end zone doing the finger gun celebration after that recovery. So maybe their wallets are going to be a little lighter, but the boys are having fun. Good to see you, Greg Smith, of course. Scott, I expected a flag on that play. Yeah, it was. It's kind of too bad. I guess it's
close.
Lucky that
it's close. Again, we've seen, and oh man, what are you talking about? This is soft. Listen, I don't care if you agree with it or not. I'm telling you, it's borderline. It's close, and you gotta be careful. And if we're under the impression that the referees are already targeting Denver Broncos and Sean Payton, by God, do not stand over and flex over a quarterback.
Yeah. Got to be careful. Conga comes in and says, could the Broncos beat the Giants, the Titans right now? This is just an absolutely wild NFL season. And that's one reason. This is one reason, Conga, that, everybody's looking at the schedule and be like, oh man, Broncos easily could win every single one of these games. I look at it and say the Broncos could easily lose every single one of these games because the NFL is absolutely wild this season. Unless your team is the Baltimore Ravens, the Dallas Cowboys, or the San Francisco 49ers, anybody could beat anybody. I thought maybe the Dolphins were going to be in that conversation too, but they just got beat by the bleeping Titans. So it's wild. Not to be cliche, one game at a time. Right now, the one thing the Broncos really have going for them is I don't know if they will be singularly outcoached the rest of the season, which gives you such a baseline and a safety factor that we haven't had for a bit. So I think the players are going to be in the best position to win, and that gives you such a advantage.
If this was week 8, the Denver Broncos would be in the top 4 of power rankings right now. Nobody wants to play the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
The Giants are playing good ball. Have y'all seen Tommy DeVito? I had never seen Tommy DeVito until I watched his presser this morning. He is the most Tommy DeVito looking dude in the history of Tommy DeVito looking dudes.
Straight out of New Jersey. Yeah.
That's racist, Scott, whatever. Yeah, well, how do you think they become cliches? How do you think they become stereotypes? The man looks like Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride with the Giants, for sure. We got Facebook user said Jewel said in the locker room the league gave him a pass for the shooters. Well, that's good because it's
good. It's a cool celebration.
Yeah, if this was college football, he'd be getting heck of NIL from a arms dealer or something out of some rural town in Iowa to represent him.
It's not like he's lining up I mean, if his name was Tommy, for God's sakes, the machine gun or something, or here, we're going to get flagged by Facebook and YouTube. Sorry, apologies. Or, lining up a long shot. It's a celebration. Good for him. Yeah. We figured it was Benjamin Flores. Good to see you. Robot of Doom. Hey, good morning, gents from Disneyland. It's packed with Broncos fans here. Broncos Country is alive. Good for y'all. I meant to say that yesterday. I was listening to the game on the radio to start, and the announcers for the Denver Broncos were kind of making fun of the LA Chargers. Boy, the stadium's really gotten loud. Not from the Chargers fans, but their PA system certainly has gotten loud. And then they started talking about, how much orange there was and how much Broncos Country was showing out. So make a vacation of it. Stay for the day. Go to Disneyland down in Anaheim and have a good time. Hopefully the weather is good for you there. It can get awfully hot in December, January, in down in that neck of the woods. So beats Orlando, though. I'll tell you that.
Too hot for me all around. Ethan, TWI guy, is saying, Muma who? I've been pleasantly surprised with Jewel and especially Singleton. Yeah, Muma's struggled with the Jags. So, I mean, career's not written yet. He's still an athletic, talented guy. And the Broncos will probably still be questioning the linebacker spot. Man, Scott, I know the Broncos are limited in funds this offseason, and we'll probably see some moving around. Like I would probably extend / renegotiate Simmons for sure, probably Sutton as well, and maybe Bowles also. I mean, 3 guys that we thought were gone.
I think all 3 of those for sure are on different contracts next year. And another one, we got a question last night about Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick will not be back on the contract he's on. That is an absolute guarantee. Dead on lock. Done. You'll probably have to cut him. Do you cut him and then re-sign him, or does he just go ahead and, a restructure on a 1-year deal is basically the same thing?
It's up to him.
Or is he just done? I mean, I haven't seen Tim Patrick play. That's how long he's been out.
Wild. Really sad for that. God, he's so talented when he's out. I think the offense would be so much fun with him out there because I think he'd be a good fit for Russell Wilson, honestly. But yeah, I think it's up to him, and I hope him the best because he seems like a great guy as well. So we'll see. Point I wanted to make though, Scott, with the money.
To Ethan's point here, real quick. Yeah. About Muma, when we were going through our drafts and Chad Muma has not been very good at Jacksonville. That said, Jacksonville did dump a lot of resources into that position, period. Mm-hmm. And Foye Oluokun has been excellent for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, maybe if Foye hadn't been as good, maybe Muma gets to play a little bit more, gets to do a little bit more things. And didn't they take your linebacker out of Utah?
He struggled in non-pass rush situations. From Utah, whose name's escaping me right now, Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, he's been pretty good for him there too. So between Lloyd and but Foye's been awesome for Jacksonville and good for him. He was like a 6th-round pick. And you were mentioning money, Nick.
Yes,
I think you need a ton of money to go out and find linebackers. If you do it right, there's some good ones available.
And my point was, I mean, with the way he's playing, I think you need to figure out some money things. And I think the original plan was to have Sanders replace Jewel, but I think Jewel's your most valuable guy in the middle of that defense there. I mean, they credit him a lot to the integrity of the zone coverages out there and getting guys lined up. I think Singleton plays a lot better when Jewel can kind of do some, point and shoot for better reference there with Singleton. So I would love to see if they could bring Jewel back for a cheap-ish contract. Also, another one that's going to be a free agent that I'm hoping you can figure out a way to find some money to bring him back is PJ Locke. Neither of these guys I think are going to break the bank, so to speak. But I really hope that they're liking the vibes here in Broncos country right now with Vance Joseph, and maybe you can get a somewhat team-friendly deal for these guys to come back to Denver, because, I mean, they've been catalysts for the turnaround this season. And I think even like Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, definitely Russell Wilson after the game, talked about leaders on the defensive side of the ball, and specifically mentioning Josie Jewell, Simmons, and Singleton for the big three of the heart and the brain of that defense. So hopefully we can figure out a way to get Jewell and Locke back, because they've been really good. Facebook user coming in says, honest take
This
with
is
KJ.
Benjamin.
Benjamin, good to see you, Ben. Says, honest take, when Kareem Jackson comes back, are you starting him over Locke? Because I'm not cleaner football player with Locke. I think Kareem Jackson is very good in the locker room. It seems like his teammates love him and the coaches love him as well. But he is one hit away from ending his career. I mean, that's always true, I guess. But making it so he's playing free football this season, and Locke has been better. Locke has been a more dynamic player. I think you still have to keep working with the communication and not give up explosives. Every once in a while, you'll see number 6 on the wrong end of a deep pass when it looks like he should be in the deep zone. But that's something I think you can correct there. And the defense has been much more dynamic with Locke out there. So I think it's a simple decision. Locke should keep playing.
You're 4-1 with him as a starter. This is a really easy decision. Now, that's not all on Kareem Jackson, the turnaround on there. But again,
No.
Baron Browning has been huge, flat out. Let's put it in order. Why have things turned around? Well, the meet and greet is number 1. Number 2, Baron Browning.
Jaquan McMillan, probably over Browning.
We're talking personnel. We said it at the very top. Jaquan McMillan coming in on the edge to replace K'Wan Williams, who I said at the beginning of the season, he was your best edge setter on the team. As sad as that is, it's true. Well, all of a sudden now it's K'Wan Williams who, sorry you're injured, but McMillan has Wally pipped you, dude. It's
That's
good.
The NFL.
And Locke has come in and made that spot his own. Now we went into the season very critical of the thought at safety. You went with Caden Stearns, who hasn't been able to play. It's like me counting on, okay, well, my tight end room is Greg Dulcich next year. No, you idiot. You can't do that. You have to hedge. You have to figure out ways to do it. An old guy in Kareem Jackson, who hasn't been able to stay on the field either. And then PJ Locke has stepped up and grabbed hold of that spot. And the Broncos are 4-1 with him as a starter. To quote Crash Davis, Bull Durham, you don't F with a winning streak. They don't come around that often. PJ Locke's your starting safety on this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it'll be interesting to go forward. I mean, you have some chance to do some dime stuff with him, and with how good PJ Locke has been in some blitzes as well. I'm guessing you are going to get some defensive formations in dime where you do have all three safeties out there, especially if Bonito is down for a bit. Maybe you kind of do a little emphasis or a change in the emphasis of personnel on some third down kind of plays. But yeah, it's worth following. And yeah, Locke should be playing. I hope he's back. He'll be a 6-year player next year. This is his first real chance. Talking to some people, covering the Broncos and in the locker room, he's somebody whose head is always in the tablet, studying film as well. So if you're going to blitz as much as the Broncos are right now, you need to have smart guys in the back end who know what they're doing, because if one guy is out of place when you have less bodies back there, it's a much riskier proposition than if you're playing, only rushing 3 or rushing 4. So Locke's been great. Hopefully he continues to play great, and hopefully he's back.
We talked about this last year, and Alan Forster coming in. He says, morning, guys. Thanks for me. Just realized that it's 1:15 in the morning on Sunday. Where are you coming from, Alan? I don't remember where you're watching. So welcome in. I love these morning shows in the U.S. because we've really branched out to our international audience, which is a lot of fun on this show. So let us know where you're coming from. Talking about paying safeties and coming in. If there's 64 starting safeties, what do you think the 30, 31, 32, what kind of money are they making? The number 32 safety, what kind of money do you think they're making? On a cap hit.
Probably a lot of them are making rookie contract money still. So I'm guessing.
I've got a space. They're all there's 5 players within $200,000 of each other.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably about $2 million.
It's 3.5. It's 3.4 to 3.6 for the 32. PJ Locke is on, I think I just looked it up. It was like 1.2 cap hit this year.
I believe
I
it.
think you can offer him a double with some guarantees on there and maybe even an escalator in the next year. Give him a 3-year deal, which is actually a 2-year deal with $8 million guaranteed, a 3-year deal with $8 million guaranteed. And I think that would be well, you know whose money that is? It's
Kareem
Kareem
Jackson.
Jackson's money.
Yep. Yep.
You just give him Kareem Jackson's money, which was on about 2 this year, and you're done.
Yep.
And then I drafted another safety. I mean, I use a day 3 pick on a safety and see if I can develop. And hope that Caden Stearns gets healthy. That's a nice wild card to have, is having Caden Stearns there as not my penciled in starter, but as a wild card of, okay, whatever I get out of this guy is gravy. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start thinking about roster moves.
Yep. I mean, that's a position where you're going to churn a lot anyway on the back end of the roster because safeties are so special teams oriented. But it's going to be fun to follow. And we're middle of the season, but Scott and I's heads are always looking forward to how can you craft these rosters in the ever-changing landscape that is NFL team building. Kevin comes in and says, we are all talking about fighting to get a wild card spot, but what about possibility of taking the West? One game out, KC seems to be falling apart. It's going to be very hard to do because Kansas City essentially right now has a 1.5 game lead. Now that can change if the Chiefs lose one of their divisional games versus the Chargers or the Raiders down the stretch and the Broncos win out. But I think there's specific games that the Chiefs have to lose. And we've seen the Raiders and the Chargers, folks. I don't know about Kansas City losing even, one game down the stretch. So it is kind of an unfortunate circumstance. Like if the Broncos had beaten the Texans, we'd be right there. And I think you'd have a real shot. I think Kansas City would still have the tiebreakers because of the divisional records, because they have their only divisional loss is versus the Broncos, where the Broncos have lost to the Chiefs and the Raiders. So that would have them behind the Chiefs, but it's possible. Again, one game at a time. We saw last night that anything can happen. You had the Titans beating the Dolphins and the Giants beating the Packers.
14 with 4.5 minutes left and win that game.
Yeah, it's the Will Levis, baby, taking shots and playing like an absolute reckless person. It's like Jackass out there.
I see a comment from Il Ray Tito about, when we were talking about K'Waun Williams. K'Waun he says is good. He's really good. He was an unsung hero of this defense, and you realized how much you missed him when he wasn't there. When you didn't replace him, you've got a replacement now. In fact, I think you've actually upgraded on him. And I thought K'Waun was one of your best defenders, period, last season. He was really good, and that was a big loss. And now McMillan has jumped up into that spot, and you see what a difference it makes on this defense. McMillan is an exclusive rights free agent after next year. We've talked about getting him a little bit of money too, which could be happening soon. But Il Ray Tito, I agree with you 100%. K'Waun Williams was a really, really good player for this team last year.
Yeah, and he'll get picked up somewhere. He's the end of his contract anyway, so he'll be gone. But he'll have a chance, assuming he gets healthy. Aaron Wagner says, I feel more excited about this team than I have for quite a while, but it's a conflicted feeling because we'll need a new quarterback again sooner than later. Will Sean Payton have more success finding one? I think that maybe not more success finding one per se, but whatever quarterback you have, I feel good about knowing if the guy is the dude or not, because there should not be as many excuses, because Sean Payton, I believe, is going to put them in the best position to succeed. So it's not going to be oh man, you got Pat Shurmur here, or talking about the offensive line over and over again, having a hard time separating excuses from reasons. I think that with Sean Payton and the direction of the offense right now, there's going to be very little excuses. So we're going to have a cleaner evaluation of the quarterback, and that's a good thing. You're wasting less time, and hopefully can get a cleaner overall evaluation. So maybe you still have a hard time finding one, but I feel more confident that if you do get one, you're going to know.
Yeah, and what's nice is we've said all along, the better that Russell Wilson plays, the more options you have with Russell Wilson, and that's all you really want. Do I have options to maybe if I need to, if I'm not feeling this anymore and I need to move him, okay, someone will pick up some of that salary and that will help offset the contract. If he's playing great, that's still the best option you have, is getting value for your money. That's always the number one option. That's a good thing. And that would help me buy some time to spend a day 3 pick on another quarterback. And then do it again next year. Keep doing it. If I can get Russell Wilson for 3 years playing at a playoff caliber level, okay. I can then find time to develop and see what happens in the right system. I can start accumulating weapons around him that maybe becomes more enticing for a veteran quarterback to come in. You've been successful with that before in the past, Broncos, where you see it. So the playing good, and when we go back to tanking and rebuilding versus, winning or not, the winning is always the answer. When you're midseason, last game of the year, okay, then we'll have a different conversation.
It's different, yeah.
But when you're sitting at 1-5, do you want to win? Yeah, you want to win. Someone told me to get off this podcast and get off this channel because someone asked me, it was a couple weeks ago, someone asked me right here, would you rather be 8-9 and make the playoffs, or would you rather have gone 5-0 and finished 11-6? Well, I'd rather finish 5-0 than 2-3. Sorry. If I make the playoffs at 8-9, okay. I still don't know where I am as a team. I still don't feel like this is a team that can win anything in the finals. But if I go 5-0, I mean, what's the object when you go out and play a game? It's to win, right? I'll take 5-0 every time over 2-3. If I don't make the playoffs, so be it. But going into the offseason, I am set up for a championship caliber freaking run in 2024. Yeah. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Quentin Caldwell, good morning, y'all. I do think we said hello to Michael, but good to see you, Michael. Always appreciate you. Sinji was in the house today. Good to see you. JD says good morning from Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's about time the Broncos are looking good. Yeah, JD, it's been a bit. Hope you're doing well. We got Nick Klinger. Good morning. Lovely Broncos, and got a throwback Denver tattoo blessed on my neck. Awesome. Quick question. What's the biggest threat from Detroit and our strongest asset toward their defense? The biggest threat to Detroit is that they have an offensive line that can impose their will in the run game against the Broncos. And while the Broncos have been better as of late, their run defense is still probably a bottom 10 to 12 run defense in the NFL up front. Personnel wise, I think in this last game, your bottom 3 graded defenders were all interior defensive linemen. They all just really stunk against the run against a bad Chargers offensive line. And I think that's something that concerns me greatly with this Lions team. As far as how the Broncos match up, I think that this is a terrible Lions defense right now. They are weak up the gut, and they struggle getting pass rush as well. So I'm hoping the Broncos can score early in this one, and it's kind of been the formula all year, Scott, right? If they can get a lead early and with the script and everything, and then kind of control the flow of the game from there, everything looks significantly better all around for the defense and the offense when they can do that. And I think because the Lions defense is really reeling right now, you have a chance to do that. But I'm a little bit worried about how the Broncos defensive front is going to match up against the Lions offensive line that is just littered with first round picks.
What's the biggest concern here? I think Miami Dolphins, okay? And then let me scratch them out because I asked myself the question that I was going to ask y'all and ask you, Nick. It's kind of rhetorical until I came up with the answer on Miami Dolphins. Is this the best, most balanced offense you will face this season? I think the Dolphins may have them, but I think it's close. I actually think the Miami Dolphins running game is a product of their explosive pass offense.
Spacing.
I think the Detroit Lions can line up and blast you with their running game if they need to. Yeah. I think that this is probably the best, most balanced offense that you will face this season. It's a bold statement. We're talking about the Detroit Lions. But as far as balance goes, they can beat you in a multitude of ways on offense. That's the biggest concern on them, is getting in a shootout and can you keep up? As good as the Denver Broncos has been playing on defense, this is a different animal, no pun intended, on defense on that you'll be facing with the weapons and the balance that this team has in Detroit, where it's going to be loud as hell when you're on offense.
Yeah, I would still probably contend, maybe not the balanced part. I think that's doing a lot of lifting for your argument, Scott. If I was going to match them up head to head, I'm taking the Bills offense every freaking time over the Lions, even though the Lions are a little bit more explosive in the run game. I mean, what they've been doing with James Cook and the Bills lately, watch out. Nobody wants the Bills to get in the playoffs because they are an interesting team for sure. And Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in football, obviously, playing some of the best football right now in the NFL.
Yeah, if you want to go by yards per game, which isn't always, I know Nick likes the efficiencies and stuff, but the Detroit Lions have the 5th best rushing attack They've got and they're just behind passing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh best passing attack. And they're down to about 7th in points per game. This is a offense that poses a lot of challenges for your defense. So you got to win your first downs and get them in obvious, which the Broncos have done a very good job of doing. Jonathan Fallick asked, morning guys, you said many times that they won't restructure Russ. Let's rephrase that a little bit. That Russ might not be open for a restructure, and it wouldn't make sense for the Denver Broncos because then you are committing more money to him later and later because they would have to extend him. But with him playing fairly well and possibly sticking around, is it time to rethink that? And Jeremy asked a question. I want to just pile on this. Can you do deferred money like you do with Ohtani? You can do all those things. You can do all those things. The question is, do you want to? You think you're pissed at Russ now? Wait until you have 3 dead years on his contract where he has 3 straight $15 million dead cap hits and he's retired. Now you're really going to hate him. I don't like that. Is it possible? Yeah, anything's possible. You could do all those things. But when we talk about restructuring, usually you restructure a guy when you have leverage or he's young. And I don't mind kicking money down the road because I can just restructure again. And I can keep the cap hit low. And he's going to keep playing. But when you're coming to the end of a career with a quarterback in his mid-30s, the longer you restructure, you're just putting off that time where you have to have that massive dead cap hit. When is it going to be? Because it's coming. If you're in a window where you think you can win a championship, you don't mind. You don't mind that I'm going to have to take a big cap hit in 2026 because by God, I'm going to win a Super Bowl in 2025. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Or you could be the Atlanta Falcons and have a $50 million dead cap hit on a dead team that you can't rebuild. You can, that with Matt Ryan, because you keep restructuring, keep kicking that down the road, thinking you're in your window to win, and really you're just prolonging the inevitable nuke rebuild.
Yeah. Right now, I'm actually trending towards keeping Russell Wilson just because it is so detrimental cap-wise to move on from him. We will see. Again, I know that it's a lot of fun to ride the roller coaster that is the week-by-week, volatile emotional reaction. But we got 4 games left, and we will see how it plays out. I would be curious if Wilson, instead of a restructure where you're adding money to the back end of his deal to lower his cap hit and immediacy, making it harder to move on from him later, maybe we see something where the money is changed into bonuses for him because he is going to be the second oldest starting quarterback entering next season, assuming still Stafford and Wilson. And maybe it's something like where it is team-oriented or statistical-oriented bonuses that only get applied after the fact, after he hits them. I mean, Peyton Manning did that his last season in Denver as well, where he hit those bonuses because of the team success. And one reason, I mean, it's not typical for players to give money back, but let's be real. This is a weird situation. This is a legacy play for Wilson at this point in his career. And I don't even think he's probably the main breadwinner in his terms of his relationship here with Sierra.
I did a net worth on them one time, and it was still Russell Wilson was still pretty good ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah. I mean,
I looked. I could be wrong, but I remember looking that up one time. I was like, net worth, income, et cetera, and Russell Wilson still holding his own.
Okay, good for him. Not the Gisele Bunch, Tom Brady situation here, but I would be curious if there would be something where he could switch some things to bonuses to be kept and make it a little bit easier to field a competitive team around him rather than the restructure where you're kicking the can. I just don't think it's good. It's already going to be costly to move on from him regardless of when you do. So you want to increase that and hurt yourself further down the line. I don't know. I'm much more of a take it on the chin now. But that's just me with brought to you by Manscaped. What do you think, Scott? Sorry. Gross.
You're killing me on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's also something that Keith Brugman says, you're also, you could get a $50 million cap increase.
That will change things too.
Could happen. A 20, and that's just 20 at this point, that's just 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of the next 2 or 3 seasons, if you go 20% cap increase, it eats a lot of that money. The problem is everybody else has that money too, and you could lose some free agents. So it's not just we have tunnel vision. Yeah. It's not just the Denver Broncos. Remember, it's like, oh, how come we're not higher ranked? We got this guy, this guy, this guy. Man, everybody else is trying to improve too.
But the big thing is that's proportional, right? Like the proportion
Yeah.
of Russ's hits will be smaller,
Right.
even though the other teams will be paying more. What it accounts for against the cap for Wilson will be a smaller proportion. So that's always
Right.
the point there.
And
Down the
his
line.
is fixed. We won't get into real estate here, but you've got a fixed cost now. You
Yep.
know what you owe Russell Wilson all of a sudden, but your income increased. Yeah, I'm struggling to pay for this car now, but I'm 23 years old and I plan on making more when I'm 25.
Yep.
I'll have more money, so I'm going to get this car now. That's but my point on the extension one though was, well, Aaron Rodgers restructured his money to take less money. No, he didn't. He did not. It's the headlines just drive me nuts. You know, Randy Gregory and his $76 million contract. It was a $20 million contract. You know, what did he actually get paid? Aaron Rodgers has a dead cap hit at 43 years old when he's not under contract with the New York Jets in 2026 of $35 million. He has a 2027 dead cap of $14 million, and he has a 2028 hit of $7 million. So after Aaron Rodgers is no longer under contract with the New York Jets, he has a total of $56 million in dead money that accounts towards their salary cap. Okay, is it worth it? It might have been if Aaron Rodgers has been healthy. Right now, the answer is no. The guy's hurt. With Aaron Rodgers, this is a playoff team. I don't mind taking a shot and paying for it later. So those are the kind of questions you have to ask yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Russell Wilson. Yeah, Jeremy says Russ is 165 where Sierra is only 20 million. That's surprising. I guess, it's different out there for the Giselle versus the pop star.
Yeah, I mean, Russell's got a $150 million guaranteed contract. I mean, that's and the thing when they do those net worth things, they usually just do it based on income. They don't know assets.
Yes, that's the big
basically income because he could get a $200 million bonus from somebody willing to take his. Why don't you pay me $200 right now and I'll sell my contract to you? That's an asset. He's got that's anyway. Let's not get into money. String Guy says, Scott, do you still think George Payton is gone after the season, or Payton's success with Russ saving his bacon? String Guy, it's a great question. I don't know anymore. I said when Sean Payton was hired, I did not expect George Payton to still be the general manager. They have made that work. On whatever the date was after week 5 loss to the New York Jets, I was ready to can everybody. I was ready to burn the whole thing to the ground. Everything is turned around. It changes everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know their working relationship. I don't know if George Payton will be happy being basically a number 2 to Sean Payton. And he is. He is a number 2 to Sean Payton. If he's happy with that and he's content with his role in the organization, then he's got a pretty good chance to stay. If he's not, then what this run has also done is put him back into we want someone to come in here and take over and be the general manager of our team and not be a number 2 to a head coach. George, do you want to come do that with us? It's elevated his resume back up to the top of people's stacks and on the other phone calls from team presidents and owners from across the league. So it's given him more options as well. So I don't know. I'm done. I'm 0 for 2 on saying he's gone. There's no way. I don't know anymore. I think he's got options now. The Broncos have options, and those are all good things for both George Payton and the Denver Broncos. Winning is good. Winning is good, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt, winning is good. And I think right now I'd say George Payton is back because a lot of the scouting wins, that is the back end of the roster, and guys that have been drafted by George Payton have been elevated with the better coaching staff. It was really hard to get an evaluation of a lot of these players last season with the incompetency that we saw and the lack of, let's just call it as it is, the lack of a winning culture in that locker room. And now you see guys, PJ Locke, been here for a number of years, undrafted free agent, fine, kicked around, probably before George Payton, but decided to be brought back. Jaquan McMillan was a find for them. Fabian Moreau offseason, to credit the internal pro scouting of the front office there. The draft classes have overall, I think, been better than what we thought prior to this season. So it's obviously the combination of evaluation, talent acquisition, plus coaching and knowing where to put these guys in the right spot to succeed. And I think that's actually shown to be a pretty good relationship here. So right now I would say Payton is back, but he's going to have options. The other caveat is, Scott, they still have him under contractual control, right? He's not a free agent general manager.
Mhm.
So I don't know what that means, that we don't see front office guys traded. But they have him under contractual control. Also, the ability to be in the Broncos and have the ownership with the deep pockets that George Payton has here. I don't know if you're going to have that advantage everywhere else. So I think that is a factor.
The questions you have to ask normally when a guy that comes in and gets the power that Sean Payton has, the answer is always the same. He wants his own guy. He's going to want his own guy. I said it when I first started covering this team. I cannot believe Vic Fangio was still the coach of this team when they hired a new general manager.
Yeah.
He was fired a year too late. The general manager should come in and bring his own guy with him. Of course, he went and got Nathaniel Hackett. That was a fireable offense. We've had these discussions before. The three big things last year that any one of those three could have cost George Payton his job. Sean Payton is going to want his own guy. Now, is George Payton somebody that, hey, you're my guy, we can work together? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't. And there's been options. There's been options now because of the success that this team has had together. There will be options in other organizations, and there will be options to bring in someone else if that's what you need be.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. We are at an hour, so we do need to wrap it on up here, Scott. But I did want to at least, end on the defense, since that was the main topic here. Obviously, talked about Bonito as well and the defense. Where are you at on this defense right now? Obviously, they've been playing well. I still am just scratching my head at the statistic that they are dead last in third down blitz rate, given what the defense has looked like here as of late. Once last week's data is available, I want to crunch it down to the Cleveland-Houston Chargers game, because I feel like there has been not a revolution, but just a dial turn for this Broncos defense. They've changed stylistically a bit over the last 3 weeks, and the turnovers have dropped a bit. I think it's actually been a little bit more replicable type of defense that we've seen versus the incredible turnover streak that we saw the 5 games prior. But your thoughts on the defense overall, things that you're surprised about, and potential pitfalls going forward. And I'm going to block this porn bot here real quick.
I hadn't come through on my side. So
she's saying hello to everybody.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
I'm saying goodbye. So
hello.
Go ahead.
Hello. My thoughts on this is this defense is built back to front, which I don't particularly always like. But when you show me what you're showing, which is a heavy blitz rate on early downs, those are run blitzes. I cannot stop the run with my front four. I have to commit bodies to it. Okay, fine. If I can get you in third and medium to third and long, I'm not having a ton of success. Yes, I know you had 6 sacks from different places, but I don't feel like you're having a lot of sustained success rushing 4 players. Yet your defense is still playing really well. That's a testament to the back end of the defense. The back end of this defense is locking up guys incredibly well. Pat Surtain. Justin Simmons. We've talked about McMillan. Fabian Moreau has done really well on third and long in coverage, which leaves me the 5th one. Who am I missing? PJ Locke. PJ Locke was a difference maker on this side. So when you're in your nickel, what concerns me is the lack of pressure with 4 on quarterbacks. Can I always count on coverage? I would rather count on pressure. I would rather have Myles Garrett in a game than Pat Surtain. I just think that the best pass coverage in the world is putting a quarterback on his ass. And that is what concerns me long-term with this defense. Now, you've got bodies out there. You can run them out there. You're getting better in interior pressure from guys like Zach Allen, who's playing like a monster right now, which is a difference maker. Baron Browning has definitely helped with that. But I think you're going to have to get more sustained pressure week in and week out on the quarterbacks as the more important the games get.
At some point, there's going to be a team out there, maybe even down the stretch here. We'll see, because you're not playing, outside Detroit, you're not playing barn burner offenses, but somebody's going to figure out something schematically and stylistically to take advantage of your blitz orientation right now. And I think it's going to be a lot of isolating linebackers over the middle of the field, because there's a lot of space right now.
You know who had luck at it, Nick?
Who?
Washington Commanders running those screens.
Yeah, the screen. I mean, I feel like
they were a really good screen team.
There's going to be a counter at some point that is going to have the Broncos look poor given how reliant they are on the blitz to create pressure. But it is partially, Scott, also something that I wouldn't build a team personally this way, but the Broncos have like you mentioned, horses in the back end and questions in the front. Well, if you have the horses in the back end, you know what you can afford to do? Play less in the back end and then allocate bodies to the blitz. You don't have to win your one-on-ones constantly because you're sending enough guys that you're getting free rushers, right? The Broncos, I think, are 31st in the NFL in pass rush win rate, but I feel like probably half to 2/3 of their sack this season, the guy's not even blocked. And part of that is the scheme of what they've done with the pressure. So you'll see your pass rush win rate be low, but you're still getting pressures because of what you're able to do in the free rushers.
Yep.
So
and
it's going to be
here's the thing, Nick. Here's the beautiful thing about today's NFL. Let's say the Broncos, can sneak into the playoffs. It's not even sneak in the playoffs. Let's say they kick the damn door down and get into the playoffs. You look at the teams that they could be playing against, and who really, really scares you at quarterback that you haven't already faced. Cincinnati Bengals, Jake Browning's playing some pretty good ball. Buffalo Bills still aren't out of it. Put pretty good kibosh on them. They're playing a little bit better right now. CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Okay. How about Gardner Minshew and the Colts? Who the hell ever with the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're no way. Cleveland Browns, Joe Flacco. Trevor Lawrence can play pretty good at Jacksonville, but they're 8-5. Patrick Mahomes, you have put the stymie on twice. 2 in the Dolphins, yeah, they're a bit concerning. And then Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. For all of the talk about the young guns and superstar quarterbacks out there, they're either underachieving to a certain extent or they're hurt. So, in a sense, this make the quarterback beat me defense could be sustainable.
The issue is that the quarterbacks that you listed that the Broncos would play, because they're probably a wild card team. Mm-hmm. You're talking Lamar, Tua, maybe Trevor Lawrence, so the Broncos can get up to the 5 seed. We'll see what happens with the AFC South down the stretch here. Gosh, who's the other one I'm missing? Oh, and Mahomes, of course.
Right now, 6 goes against Mahomes, 5 against Jacksonville, 7 against Miami.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds are all the quarterbacks that make you nervous.
Yeah, maybe not 4. I don't know about Trevor Lawrence making me nervous right now because I feel like that offense looks super stagnant. Somebody made the comparison where it's like,
he's better than most.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't think it's
when I compare him to the Steelers and Gardner. I'd rather face him than Gardner Minshew.
You'd rather play Trevor Lawrence than Gardner Minshew?
Flip that. I screwed that up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
apologies.
Yes. So it's going to be interesting. I do think this Broncos defense will be better. Things that stick out to me still for the defense statistically in areas of concern. They've been great in terms of the negative explosive plays. I've been looking for the stat. I think it might be on Sports Info Solution. And if anybody wants to buy me the $750 a year subscription to that data set, God bless you. But I think the Broncos probably have one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL in negative splash EPA plays. And how do you get those? Turnovers and sacks. The Broncos, while they're, I think, 17th in sacks this season, they're 4th in sack yards. So their sacks are even more valuable because they're pushing the ball back further. And then you have the turnover. So I think the negative plays are great they're positive for the Broncos, negative for the opposing offense. You're still giving up explosive plays at a pretty high rate. You are 16th in the NFL in explosive play rate, especially runs. You're really stinking in explosive runs. I think you're, I have it right here. You are 28th in the NFL in explosive play rate since week 6. So since the defense figured it out, you're still one of the worst defenses in the NFL in giving up 10+ yard runs. A little bit of a worry there with the Lions.
Stop everything.
You can't stop everything.
Unless this is a flawed defense. We've talked about some of the personnel problems they've had. They're not stacked with all pro across the line. It's a flawed defense.
Yep.
And Vance Joseph and his staff is doing a phenomenal job of hiding the weaknesses of certain players on his team. Fabian Moreau, Jonathan Harris, PJ Locke to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And then he's getting some superstar play from guys that you might not expect. Baron Browning, I think, is playing above our wildest dreams right now. I really do. I mean, there's fanaticals out there. I get it. No one pictured what Jaquan McMillan is doing right now. Nobody.
No.
And he's playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I just, again, what do the data say about the team? We have so much. It drives me nuts when I listen to people talk and they just talk points per game when we have so much better statistics out there that can paint a better picture for what the team is doing. And always paint a good picture for us is Ethan here. Great show, Jensen Broncos Country. Good to see you, Ethan. But the explosive run rate, really concerning going against this Detroit team, which is super efficient and explosive on the ground with David Montgomery, who's one of the best tackle breaking running backs in the NFL this season. He's kind of playing like what I'd want Javonte Williams to play like, and we have not totally seen yet. And then you have Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think has some of the best yards per carry average in the NFL. So I'm really concerned about the explosive play rate. And also you see the Broncos are 22nd in the NFL in success rate. I'm assuming that'll improve once we get that Chargers data. But again, that points to that, and success rate is determined. It's a binary outcome. Either you are successful or you're not based on the yards. So it doesn't really capture the explosive, massive EPA shift plays like the Broncos defense. You have a 10-yard sack that looks exactly the same as a 2-yard run. You have an interception that looks exactly the same as an incompletion in terms of success rate because it's binary. So you're not capturing. That's why EPA is probably better for the Broncos because it's capturing those things. But I am still worried about the down-to-down consistency and the explosive plays. Broncos gave up 0 explosive runs against the Chargers. They only gave up 2 explosive pass plays. If you can do that again against the Lions, who are this season, the 4th best team in explosive plays this season overall, we might be talking about a different defense and something to watch trifle for already beyond what they are. But the explosive plays and the success rate are the 2 that I'm concerned about.
We'll get into more of the preview on Thursday. Yeah. This is going to be a tough win. The Detroit Lions are good at home. They're a different beast at home. But they are vulnerable. They've lost 2 of their last 3, including one of the Packers. The Packers aren't world beaters. They're a good football team. The Denver Broncos is somebody nobody wants to mess with right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. They are playing great football. We got Michael coming in here helping us close the show that we're going along. Great show today, Nik and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Ethan comes in and says Singleton and Jewel will stymie Montgomery. I do worry a bit about Singleton's missed tackle rate against somebody like Montgomery, who is one of the best broken tackle backs in football this season, but should be, heck, man, that should be a heck of a matchup. I am really excited to see the chess match that is the Detroit Lions and Ben Johnson versus Vance Joseph. One final caveat here. First, we got Patrick coming in. Patrick, God bless you, man. Thank you so much for Lion Coffee. I'm down to 1.5 bags. So I'm starting to get the shakes. No, I've been drinking way too much coffee, Scott. I'm not getting enough sleep, but maybe I'm jumping the gun here. Vance Joseph head coach interviews this offseason for what the turnaround has been in the experience. Are we there yet?
I said that at the beginning. When you start, it's like, well, what happens when we flipped from do we want to keep Vance Joseph or not to, man, we're not 100% there yet, but we're feeling good about it. If you feel pretty good about it, he's going to get head coaching interviews. Yep. He will. He'll be on the short list of guys to come in and get interviews. I don't know if he'll get hired this one, and you might need one more year of success with the Denver Broncos. But if he sustains the success this year to next year, he'll be a head coach in 2025. He'll be on the short list in 2024.
Yeah, we have 4 games left, guys, right? That's one reason I want to wait and see here, especially with what this Lions game is. This is not a great stylistic matchup for the Broncos defense. Just being completely honest, we'll see how it plays out. I do think that, let's say Sean Payton was a defensive first head coach and Vance Joseph was on the offensive side of the ball, and you saw the turnaround that we've seen this season, I think he'd be gone. I think there's such a bias, rightfully so, I think, for the offensive-minded head coaches because of the stability, that if Vance Joseph was an offensive coordinator with the success we've seen, I think he'd be gone. But because he's a defensive guy, I think he's back. So we will see. That's going to be interesting, but I'm not ready for it. But we're getting to the point where at least there's been buzz and talk about it from people in the league.
This is a whole different conversation. I mean, we could go on for this. My last point, and then we'll get out of here. Mm-hmm. Vance Joseph could Dan Quinn this thing. That's what you're hoping for, is that the Denver Broncos become a perennial winner, where Vance Joseph was at a Broncos organization that was at its lowest peak. Was that his fault? I don't know. I've got a couple coaches on either side of him that didn't succeed either. Sean Payton's one of the best coaches in the NFL. That's a difference maker. Where does Vance Joseph go? So I've only seen him as a head coach in 2 spots: Denver Broncos, Arizona Cardinals. Who has succeeded with the Arizona Cardinals? That organization's been a disaster.
He wasn't a head coach with Arizona, though.
That's right. You're right. Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies. He didn't have great success with Arizona Cardinals. Who has? I'm not judging on that. And what Dan Quinn has done is breathe new life back into his head coaching candidacy at a really good organization that's going to take care of him financially, that gives him the opportunity to pick and choose. Don't just go, oh, the Arizonas or Cardinals are coming. No, man, I'm good. I'm good. Hey, it's the New Orleans Saints. Do you want to come take the Saints and their $100 million dead cap hit? No. I'm good with the Broncos. Yeah. So you could be in a situation where Vance Joseph sticks around for several years at a very high level of defensive coordinator while he waits for the right opportunity. You know what? I'm going to take the Ravens when Harbaugh decides to hang it up. Something like that. Don't just jump into a head coach job. And that's the luxury that Vance Joseph will be afforded financially, because because of being a previous head coach, he's set for life. Being with and then being successful, and then being a team like the Denver Broncos that can afford to make him one of the highest paid coordinators in the NFL. He can pick and choose the right spot. How about when Pete's gone, I'll take Seattle Seahawks. Okay, that's a much better situation than Arizona Cardinals or basically any team in the NFC South.
Yeah, I agree. We're a year early on this Vance Joseph head coach talk, in my opinion. But with the turnaround that we've seen and the schematic shift, as well as I'm just going to use the word love that his players in that locker room have for him, and him as a communicator, and now working under Sean Payton for a season and getting some of that magic dust as well, he's going to be an interesting one to see what happens going forward. And one word I want to use for Vance Joseph, I know we're long, Scott, I'm so sorry for holding you. Redemption. Just all around redemption for Vance Joseph. Fired from Denver, comes back. People want him fired after week 3. The memes, the jokes, the outright hatred for him. And now the vitriol. It's what a story this season with Vance Joseph and this Broncos defense. I think we have all the Sean Payton offense, Russell Wilson stuff, but the story for me is the turnaround of the defense and the redemption of Vance Joseph. It's been phenomenal, and we love a good redemption story. So pulling for him.
All happening within the same year.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, it's really, really wild. You finally caught us live. It's because we're an hour and 17 minutes long today. So, Scott, I'm going to let you get going here. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nik Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle and Mile High Huddle Pod, and also BFB_pod. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod, and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And as that ticker says here underneath, please subscribe to our show over on YouTube, like this show specifically, and share. And I didn't get to this earlier, but did want to share a congratulations to Russell Wilson and Sierra, the birth of their child, Amora, I want to say. I don't.
Yeah, Amora Princess Wilson, I believe.
Amora. So a pretty name. Congratulations to them both. And yeah, pretty awesome to see that. I think Russell Wilson posted he had 2 dubs in 24 hours. So really great to see that for them, and winning on the football field and off the football field for Russell Wilson this week.
Yep. My final thoughts until we come back on Thursday. I started the show by saying thank you to all of our new viewers. And when we sign off, we're usually at our highest viewership, live viewership. So thank you to all of our new viewers that have helped us build something special here with Broncos for Breakfast as we finish up our 3rd year of doing this, and the exponential growth that this show has had thanks to folks like you. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Appreciate everyone so much for coming in. Always really, really do appreciate you. Yeah, you let the Night Owls catch the best duo. Well, that's if you must be across the pond then, or I don't know what's going on, but you can always listen to us after the fact. And seriously, hit us up on Twitter if there's something in the show that you're like, Nik, I don't agree with that, or where did you get that data from?
Get me in the comments. That's where I want to be. I want to be. I don't. Twix doesn't do me any good.
Yeah,
YouTube does. YouTube's good for us.
Yeah. Hit Scott up on the Twitter if you have a question for me. Or hit Scott up on YouTube, and then he'll tweet at me to say, Nik, come answer this YouTube comment. But yeah, Twitter has my soul. It's bad, but appreciate everyone. Like I always like to close out these shows, make sure you continue to choose compassion and kindness. Let's keep this win streak going. Good vibes in Broncos country. Go Broncos.